Hi, I'm Mary. So I'm putting together this video more in the way of teaching you my process before I show you my process. My intention with this channel is to be actively channeling while I'm on camera. But I also want to teach you to do this yourself because we all can. And so this is another kind of introductory video where I am going to describe and show more what my process looks like without really being in it. And I'm going to read from you what I channeled this morning so you can see what I'm writing down, because one of the things I always do when I'm channeling is I have a notebook and I write in it. So because you can get very lost when you go into a deep meditation, particularly when you're guided by hemisync. So you might not remember. And sometimes if writing is too onerous, you can also just narrate into your phone, open up the notes on your phone, or open up your own video and just video yourself as you're in the process. But one of the things that I learned from Camille Moritz is that it's not enough to go back and channel these lifetimes that you've lived. If your intention is to heal past trauma, then the most important part of that is not only hearing and feeling, especially feeling, you've got to feel it to heal it, feeling that story in your body. It's then going back and asking yourself the questions. Okay, in that lifetime, who had the wisdom? Okay, was the wisdom with me? No, it was with the church. Who had the power? Was the power with me? No, it was with the government. And you take those things after your meditation and you're going to rewrite your story. If your past life you relived said old wisdom was with the church, you're going to rewrite that story to say, the wisdom is within me. I trust my higher self and my intuition to know what the right answer is in this situation. And then if you're really disciplined about it, you're going to repeat it out loud to yourself every morning in something that Christopher Witecki calls the vault. Christopher Witecki is with Serious Joy. You can go to seriousjoy.com. That's a prescription or subscription service, but he also just has YouTube and that stuff. So he calls it the vault, and you go in and you intentionally make statements that protect your soul, and you should do it every morning. And this way, you're rewriting your own story in a way that, at a minimum, you're training your brain to use different thoughts when you speak to yourself, which is really a big driver for how we live life. So I'm going to show you my channeling process when I do these things, but in a more interactive way, because I'm going to be teaching you what I'm doing at the same time. So the first thing I do is I open all of my sessions with a Hawaiian oli or chant. It's called ehomai. And in Hawaiian culture, ehomai is used to ask permission to enter somebody's home, to ask permission to enter a sacred area. For example, I do ehomai every single time I paddle out surfing, because I'm asking permission to enter the ocean, which is a sacred space. So this is how I begin all my tarot readings, and it's how I begin my meditations. I also believe that by beginning with an oli or chant, using your own voice, you are using sound to clear your energetic space. So I'm going to do that for you first. E o mai ka ike mai luna mai. O na mea hana noia. O na mele. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai. O na mea hana noia. O na mele. E o mai. E o mai. E o mai. Aloha I aina, aloha I akua, aloha I aumakua o pea pea honu ua ukulea. Pue o nā kohola. Mahalo nui, mahalo nui, mahalo nui. Aloha e Kupuna, David George Reeves, Roy Russell Reeves, Bernadine Reeves, Catherine Madeline Reeves, Jeanette McHugh, Robert McHugh. Mahalo, and all other ancestors, known and unknown, in material bloodlines as well as in spirit, families, to all those who intend my highest good today, you are welcome. And so at the end of that, I thanked the gods, my aumakua, which are like my spirit animals, my ancestors, and I said thank you. Then I go into what Christopher Witecki calls the vault, and I protect the space a bit more. Based on my birth chart, I'm protecting certain things, which unfortunately with my birth chart is kind of a lot. But you probably don't have to do it if you want to learn more about what you need to protect depending on your birth chart, and you can follow Serious Joy. But I go ahead and I protect myself. This is Camille. Something Camille says, I open myself to know my own soul's secrets. That way you're drawing a boundary around what you're channeling, because you don't want to just let anybody in. You need to protect the space, okay? I protect my heart in all my productions and creations. I protect my heart in everything I lead and direct. I protect my feelings in relationships. I protect my beliefs in relationships and in my philosophy and my passion, my art. I protect my belonging in relationships. I protect my thinking in relationships. I protect my beliefs about my heart and what I love in relationships so that I can belong. I protect my decisions about my heart in relationships so that I can act correctly. Now, your protection statements might not have to be so lengthy, but these are mine. And then I sit and I lean back and I wait. And meanwhile, I am playing the hemi-sync. So really, they have a saying that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. It's really that listening, and you listen with all your senses, I close my eyes. I'm really visually sensitive. I'm an artist, okay? And I put hemi-sync in my ears because I'm also auditorily sensitive, but that actually turns it on by moving the frequency back and forth. You can read about it. And then I sit and breathe, and it usually takes, a few minutes for something to come in, which, as I said before in my last video, it usually comes into me one way or the other as a feeling. So this morning, it came in as a female energy, which meant I felt it come in on my left side, the more receptive side of my body. And it was life in Lemuria as the female. And I'm just going to read what I wrote. So then as I'm channeling, I'm writing or I'm narrating, because I'm not going to remember this whole thing very well at the end. So I do jot notes about the lifetime. We wore silks from Asia. We healed with crystals and especially with sound, songs and chants. We kept astrology and charted the sun, moon, and planets. Our homes were made of marble and glass, which we polished and melted for color. Sometimes I see things because I do have my eyes closed. Like, so she showed me like this window that was like an owl with stained glass in the middle. And this is really beneficial for me with my art because that's where I get a lot of my ideas for my art. So we played drums and gongs for healing. Then I can ask them questions. So once I'm kind of connected with somebody, I can ask them a question. And so I was like, my common questions are from Camille's teachings. Okay, how many events do I need to know about? Especially if this was a traumatic lifetime, they'll usually want to show you like these things like they need to get off their chest. And some of them, you know, if you're going to get into this practice, and I encourage you to do so, I've come to believe we've all lived untold lifetimes. It makes no sense to me, honestly, as a scientist, that if you believe that matter is neither created nor destroyed, there has to be somewhere where the energy of your life force goes when you die. And yeah, okay, it's transition. I don't know about it, but I believe in reincarnation over time, just because of what's been my journey and what makes sense to me. I don't care if you believe that. But what makes sense to me in my meditation sessions are that I've been doing past life regressions for healing. So I believe that, you know, once, especially since I protected the space and asked myself to know my own soul's records, I'm getting into my own Akashic records and channeling from that. So I believe that, you know, ages ago in Lemuria, I was this high priestess in the temple, and that's what I'm learning from. But at the same time, you talk to them as if you're having a conversation, and you just hear, you don't exactly hear, but you know, like some people might hear, I don't. But I can ask them questions and have dialogue. So I asked if she had I asked how many events I need to know about. She's like, no, that's not important. I just want to show you. And I had gone into this particular meditation on this particular day asking to know about those lifetimes where I did have power, and I was a good communicator, and I was connected to spirit in a healthy way, because I've certainly relived many lifetimes where that is not the case. But so I asked for that to be the intention of my meditation, and you can do that. In fact, you should do that. You should set an intention for these sessions to be because you can drive your own train. Now that can be a broad intention, like, hey, show me what I need to know today. Or it can be very specific, which is what I gave it this morning. I want to see the lifetimes where I had power and I had strength and I had a strong connection to spirit. And this is who came up. And then when somebody comes in, particularly if they're like a tough energy, or you're trying to heal karma from a different lifetime, then I will ask how many events I need to know about. And it'll pop in your head, 3. And then they'll start to show you, right? But this was more like, okay, I just want to show you around. So I said, okay. And then I asked if there's anybody from this lifetime that I know that was there. And she again said, no, that's not the point here. I just want to show you around. So she had no family per se. She was a high priestess. Then she showed me in my third eye a sea dragon. I couldn't draw it. She said sound was how we moved things. Not just energy for healing, but physical objects, like the light as a feather, stiff as a board game. She had a Pegasus who we rode to volcanic islands to get crystals. People brought offerings to the temple. She was not the only priestess of the temple. There was always enough. People will pay for their spirituality. Look at the church. So she's a little like tongue-in-cheek with me. And then I saw 2 ruby crystal stained glass windows. Like, I think they actually were made of ruby crystals. It's pretty cool. there were different color crystal windows in the temple, and the point of those was to align the sun's energy and the moon's energy when those lights shone through, to like align them to specific frequencies so that the people could focus their own energies with their gaze on those windows. And there were giant bells, not just one tone of bell, but lots of bells in the temple to focus energy through sound. And then I began to worry, like, that I was losing connection to her. And I started having the idea to do this podcast and share this type of thing with you. And she said, I keep telling you, honey, I am you. You have this within you. Just ask, and the information is there. I saw fire in my mind's eye and asked if she worked with fire. She said the dragons had fire and it was sacred flame. I asked her if dragons were still around then, and she said yes. I asked if dragons are still around now. She said yes, buried within the earth until it's safe for them to return. I asked if they were going to come back now. She said she can't predict the timelines. You know this already. I asked if I needed a trance to access her. She said no. You know this already. From the limited, she kind of laughed and said, sorry, the limited interactive spiritual work you've already done. At this point, I can't keep up with the writing, and she encouraged me to record on a phone. Record on camera, use it to communicate on YouTube only, or OnlyFans or Patreon. Says this is the way the world is going, and to relax, and that all is energy anyways. She says if I describe the beauty through recorded sessions online, I can speak a Lemurian type of civilization into being. She says that an online presence will also help me connect directly through personal readings. I do personal readings too. And she says to change my existing YouTube to Coffee Connection and Crystals, and to tag HemiSync. She's encouraging me to try it now with the tripod and microphone. And I was so comfortable in my chair. I was like, but I'm really comfortable. And she goes, well, comfortable is not how we get things done. Tut tut. And then I checked out and went to get all this equipment together. So that was my crazy morning. That's really it. So this was like a really positive lifetime, and that's great. I don't have any rewriting to do. I guess I had other more creative tasks to do than rewriting past trauma, but I have used these methods a lot now to process trauma. It's similar to, counseling work I had done with like EMDR, particularly when you're using like HemiSync, but you're doing it to yourself. And then the most important part, you're going to kick up all this stuff. You have to be willing to feel the feelings and go through the experience. And you have to you have to have a willing sense of disbelief about the whole thing. And I forget who I'm quoting there. But I think at a minimum, if you're willing to try it and kind of go boldly into it and accept that the feelings and emotions, and if you hear, you smell, you feel, you intuit, all these things that you're going to go through there, real but transient. Again, it's like you've got to feel it to heal it. If you're not feeling it, you're not going to be able to process past trauma or past life trauma, this life trauma. Anyway, I'm not a counselor or a professional medical professional of any sort, and so I just want to encourage you that this is only for entertainment purposes, and if you are in need of serious trauma counseling, please go find an actual counselor who does something like EMDR or one of those other methodologies that can really help people. Sorry about that. I think that is all I'm gonna say for now, since the dog chorus is kicking on in the background. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time I record.